Warren Sharp does a great job covering the National Football League. Super insightful. One of our favorite analysts when it comes to the NFL. He put together an exercise where he ranked the best young quarterbacks in football. And the way he did it was based on the next 10 years in their careers and how he would rank quarterbacks for the next decade. And I want to welcome him onto the Rude Guest Hotline right now. Rude, the most reliable heating and air conditioning products in the DMV. So, Warren, as you can imagine here in D.C. with Jayden Daniels, incredible year one, not as much year two, and Drake May having gotten to the Super Bowl and Caleb having broken out, we have a lot of these 2024 draft class discussions, but yours was much more broad. You included guys like Mahomes and Allen and Burrow and Herbert and Jalen Hurts. What was the kind of point of your exercise, and give us an idea of how you went about it?
Yeah, this is used definitely for if you're looking at redrafting or you're joining dynasty leagues, kind of like there's an aspect of that to it from a fantasy perspective where you're trying to look at who is going to deliver the most upside from a statistical basis over the next, foreseeable future of their career. So guys that don't have as long of a career remaining are going to get dinged a little bit. Guys that have a lot of upside, you might want to rise them up the board a bit, like we did with Jayden Daniels in this case, Drake May ahead of Joe Burrow, for example, Caleb Williams ahead of Jalen Hurts, for instance. So there's definitely the aspect of longevity to this as well. So there's a variety of different factors, age, the arc of their career, the situation that they're currently in that do play into this ranking.
Warren Sharp's top five, he had Josh Allen, 1, was the MVP the year before last. Jayden Daniels here in D.C., 2. Then Lamar, 3rd, with Patrick Mahomes and Drake May rounding out the top 5. And then 6 through 10, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Caleb Williams, and then Jalen Hurts were his top 9 overall. Would your list look identical from a reality standpoint? Like if I was to say to you, hey, fantasy football out of the window where it kind of maybe prioritizes or rewards some of the rushing stuff more, what quarterbacks would you most want for the next 10 years? Would you still have Daniels too?
I think you're right. From a rushing perspective, it adds a lot. I think there's another aspect here with one of my fantasy guys, Rich Rebar, who is big on just the unknown factor of Jayden Daniels and that rushing upside where, you do really have to take into consideration, if you're talking about real football, the injury track record that Jayden Daniels has dealt with thus far in his career. Obviously, that was the biggest knock coming out of school, was immense talent, multifaceted quarterback who could do a lot of things, a lot of things that are exceptional. The question is, with the slight frame and his desire to get outside the pocket and run down the field with the football, will he be able to withstand some of the hits that he ends up taking? So we have unfortunately seen that there's been some issues the first 2 years of his career where he hasn't necessarily been able to withstand those. So to this point, there's not the wear and tear that you would say, hey, we got to knock him down the list for this. The wear and tear, the injuries that he sustained, to the elbow, that's not something that really is going to knock him down the list. It wasn't like a catastrophic knee injury that he's coming back from this season, which is something that obviously Patrick Mahomes is having to come back from this season. But it is definitely a question mark. Availability is one of the most important abilities in football, and he needs to be able to get through these injuries, not sustain those injuries, and to be able to be out there and perform at his peak.
Our guy Warren Sharp with us here on Grant and Danny. And I love Jayden Daniels to death, Warren, but you just kind of touched on it. It's the reason why I would not have him at 2 on this list. And I guess you kind of referenced it. I'd love for you to go further into it, though. To me, I saw this year, this injury-plagued year, you're right, none of them were the quote-unquote catastrophic ones where he's going to miss a whole season plus or have it be 9-10 months of rehab, et cetera. Is it as simple as that says these are all one-off kind of freakish things, or is it part of the larger pattern? Because my fear is it's part of a larger pattern.
So I concur that it is a fear. I don't know if it's a reality, but it is a fear. If you look at his, and I'm pulling up his True Media game log, and you can choose to look at the injury information next to the game log. And literally from a practice status, he was on the injury report every single game after the first game of the season against the New York Giants. Every single game he was listed, he had an injury of some sort: wrist, knee, hamstring, elbow. Every single week was on the injury report. Now, sometimes he's practicing in full, but he's still listed with an injury. That was the case with his knee injury and a variety of times. The few games that he did play, if you go back and look at some of the defenses that he was going up against and some of the caliber of these teams that he was going up against, you'll see that, the Green Bay Packers was week 2. Think about the Green Bay defense that was, with Micah Parsons. Think about the Green Bay overall, what that team was able to do last year in terms of the success of that team. Then you look at the Chargers, who obviously made the playoffs. You look at the Chicago Bears, who obviously made the playoffs. Then you look at he got injured in the Dallas Cowboys game. You look at the Seahawks. He played that game coming back from the hamstring injury. And then he played the Minnesota Vikings in a game that, he was coming back from the elbow injury. I didn't think that he should have played that game. I was worried about him in that game. But, he's playing a variety of elite teams, really good defenses, teams that were very successful last year. But the one comparison that I'll share is this as it relates to Drake May, because this is pretty fascinating to me. Drake May obviously getting to the Super Bowl. Drake May almost winning the MVP. Very narrow margin. Drake May didn't win the MVP. He was in year 2. Obviously, Jayden Daniels had his breakout season in year 1. Drake May last year in combined rushing and passing, 4,800 yards. Jayden Daniels, almost 4,500 yards, close in that mark. Drake May had 35 total touchdowns. Jayden Daniels had 31. Drake May had 11 turnovers. Jayden Daniels had 9 turnovers. Jayden Daniels wasn't close to getting anywhere on the MVP voting, whereas Drake May almost won it. And that was with him playing the number 1 easiest schedule, having a top 10 defense, having the coach of the year. And then when they got to the postseason, Jayden Daniels, though they lost in the NFC Championship, had a significantly better playoff run than did Drake May this past year. Jayden Daniels plus 0.16 EPA per drop back. Drake May minus 0.19. Jayden Daniels had 6 total touchdowns and 1 turnover in the playoffs. Drake May had 7 touchdowns to 8 turnovers in the playoffs. So, everybody is looking at Drake May right now as like, oh my God, he's the new prototype. He's got unlimited upside. He's the gold standard for what we would want moving forward to have an ideal quarterback be who's young in the NFL. Meanwhile, you look at Jayden Daniels, and obviously last year was completely injury plagued. He started 2 games before he started getting injured. But the year that he did have was very close to the year that we're all saying Drake May this is the gold standard type year. So I still believe that given the right pieces around him and given what we've seen from him already, that if you remove the health aspect of it, that Jayden Daniels from a skill perspective and from being able to win in the NFL can be one of the top tier guys for the next 5 to 10 years in the NFL. I really and truly think right now the biggest question is that availability and the health.
Warren Sharp football analysis is where you can find his work. Joining us here on Grant and Danny on 106.7 The Fan. Warren, how about the changes they're making to their offense? You put out great numbers on just scheme and usage and looks and different formation groups. I mean, Washington, as you know, I don't need to tell you, to say that they led the league in no huddle is an understatement. Over 70% of the time, they were all about tempo, not much in the way of shifting and any kind of motion. That's all going to change massively now. They're going to go from the team that was under center the least to the team that might be under center at one of the highest rates of the NFL. How do you think that will work with Jayden Daniels? And just more specific to what you study, why do you think they're going to do that, and how will that help them?
So I don't really know a lot about their offensive coordinator. I know what he wants to do. We haven't really seen whether he's going to be good at doing these things or he's going to have success at calling plays and getting them into the right situations, whether he's going to, and there's so much that's involved with, as you know, winning games and having success in the NFL, besides just, here's my core philosophy on how I'd like to operate the offense. And that's really all we know about him at this moment. We game planning and playing to the opponent weaknesses, that's a massive aspect of being able to win football games. And then actually sequencing your plays, calling plays when you should, that's another aspect. And then making adjustments in game, that's another aspect. And we don't know any of that in terms of how he's going to perform. But what we do know is that there has been a trend towards the under center dropbacks, playing with a little bit more heavier personnel at times offensively. And I shared on X a couple of days ago a listing of the number of under center dropbacks in 2025. And the teams that were leading the league in these, the top three teams, were the Rams, the Bears, and the Seahawks, under center dropbacks. And all of those teams, naturally, they're playing more games with a lead so they can afford to. But if you look at it from a percentage basis, and the way I like to look at these types of things from a percentage basis is what is their designed offensive intent? So I'm looking at early downs in the first half of games. I'm ignoring the reactionary type situations like second half trailing. They have to be desperate, leading. They can be extremely conservative. Third downs is basically just how many yards to go do I have to get a first down? So try to scrape those things out. And these are teams that all were leading the league as well in designed offense rate with utilizing under center dropbacks. But Seattle obviously wins the Super Bowl. The Rams are probably the second best team in the NFL last year. And then the Chicago Bears with Ben Johnson came out of nowhere to win a lot of games and have success even into the postseason. The 49ers and Bills are right up there at number 5 and number 6. And those are two teams that have really good offenses, although the 49ers had a lot of injuries. Bills obviously did well in the postseason yet again fell short. The Washington Commanders down there with just 17 under center dropbacks last year. I'll tell you this, yes, they didn't have Jayden Daniels, but no, the numbers weren't different at all in 2024 when Jayden Daniels was out there. So to answer
I actually
your question,
saw a crazy number, Warren, just to echo your point.
Yeah.
He dropped like under center plays. It was something, I don't remember the exact number, it was like 48. 43 were runs, and there were 5 dropbacks for Jayden in 2024. 5.
Right. So
it was a good game.
So that one was a good game. But the point is that we don't yet know how he's going to look utilizing a lot of under center dropbacks. But we do know that is a trend to try to slow down pass rushes, to try to give the illusion of run when you can pass off of it, to try to get the defense in a different position. So it's definitely the trend moving forward. I have been an advocate for a little while now of playing with slightly heavier personnel and utilizing these types of advantages for the offense to try to slow down a defense, utilizing play action under center, especially because those under center runs tend to have more success than shotgun runs. If you're a team that's going to try to ramp up the play action, the defense has to, I think, respect the potential for an under center run off of play action more than they really have to gear up for the shotgun run with play action, unless you're doing a true like read option where the quarterback's kind of moving with that running back and really pulling it at the last second type thing. So there's definitely going to be aspects of the Commanders offense this year with Jayden Daniels that we're really just unaware of yet, and unaware of how he's actually going to perform in those situations within this type of new style of offense. But moving away from what they were doing in the past, I mean, you guys know better than I do. There was a little bit of reluctance there. I thought, at least what I was reading, that Jayden wanted Cliff to stay, and I don't know if that was necessarily the truth or not, but obviously Cliff and the Commanders parted ways. And so we've got a new OC who's going to be calling plays very different, and it's going to look very different, but it's not necessarily a bad thing in terms of the direction that the league is headed.
So, Warren, I'm curious. This is just my own edification here. Last year, 2024, 3 of the final 4 teams in the conference championship games were among the most frequent shotgun users. You think of Philadelphia, Washington, Kansas City. I actually don't know where Buffalo was. They could have been high as well, but just bear with me. Philadelphia scores 95 points in the conference championship and then the Super Bowl combined. And now this year becomes oh my God, they're a shotgun team. It's like they've got leprosy or something like that. How did we move here so quickly?
You're talking about for the Commanders in terms of the desire to get more under center?
Just in general. It seemed like it was these are shotgun teams beating the Super Bowl, and now it's like the only thing that works is under center. Like how did we move so fast to that State of the Union?
I think a lot of it has to do with just 2 teams at the top, specifically the LA Rams. And the Rams utilizing a lot of 13 personnel and a lot of teams seeing how much better the Rams got out of that. And the Rams were always the traditional 11 personnel spread the field. We're never going to leave 11. When Sean McVay was going up against, the Patriots in the Super Bowl, it was, we're going to stick 11 on the field no matter what. We're never going to not play with 11. We're going to go tempo a little bit, and we're just going to call better plays than you're able to defend. And now the Rams, a team that was always 11 personnel shotgun, pivoting to the under center with heavy personnel 13, which is 3 tight ends out there on the field, and how much better that was making their offense. I think more teams started to realize with the way defenses are playing right now, this is potentially a good direction to head. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are interesting because I think the Philadelphia Eagles, they're in your division, obviously. I think this is a rudderless team right now. I respect what Howie has built from a personnel perspective. I just thought they made a massive mistake, and we'll see how it works, for you guys. But the promoting from within and just taking guys that you think could be good for the OC and the DC role and elevating those guys, that doesn't necessarily always pay off in spades. And if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles and then Jalen Hurts saying, hey, we want to preserve Jalen's health, we don't want him to run as much, and him coming out and saying, I don't want to run as much, and I'm not utilizing the tush push nearly as often, and Jalen not running and wanting to be more of a pocket quarterback, and the offense being uncreative, like all these things, confounding factors here, just really tanked the Eagles in terms of their offensive upside. I don't think it was because they're a shotgun team and shotgun's not the right way to have success in the NFL this year. I still think that you can have success out of shotgun. I just think that the Philadelphia Eagles specifically were a team that needs a lot of improvement in direction. And frankly, I'm surprised that they stuck with Nick Sirianni, even with all their success. I could be, barking up the wrong tree here, but I just think that the Philadelphia Eagles should have gone in a totally different direction, use this opportunity to overhaul the staff entirely as opposed to sticking with Nick Sirianni.
I get it. Warren, really smart as always. We appreciate you. Thank you for hopping on. Good insight.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
thank you, buddy.
Sharp football analysis. It's Warren Sharp. You can check him out there.